सर
नमस्ते, आप सभी को नमस्कार। एकेडमी ऑफ रोग निदान की तरफ से संचालित होने वाली सिंगल लेक्चर सीरीज में यह 31st लेक्चर है। जैसा कि हम सभी लोगों ने पैंडेमिक में ही स्टार्ट किया था, लगभग मई के मंथ से हम लोगों ने ये स्टार्ट किया था और इस श्रृंखला का यह 31वां सिंगल लेक्चर सीरीज का लेक्चर है। आज के दिन के हमारे मुख्य वक्ता हैं प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर हर्षिता संदीप दाहेलीकर मैडम। आप हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट एंड प्रोफेसर पारुल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आयुर्वेदा एंड रिसर्च सेंटर पारुल यूनिवर्सिटी वडोदरा से हैं और आज के इस सेशन को जो चेयर कर रहे हैं वो हैं हमारी वैद्य डॉक्टर ऐश्वर्या रानडे मैडम। आप तिलक आयुर्वेद महाविद्यालय पुणे से हैं। तो जैसा कि हमारा भारतीय परंपरा के अनुसार कोई भी प्रोग्राम हम स्टार्ट करते हैं तो भगवान धन्वंतरी की वंदना से करते हैं। तो मैं डॉक्टर गणेश जी से निवेदन करूंगा कि धन्वंतरी वंदना के लिए अग्रसर।
यस सर।
श्री धन्वंतरि स्तोत्रम्। ॐ शंखं चक्रं जलौकां दधदमृतघटं चारुदोर्भिश्चतुर्भिः सूक्ष्मस्वच्छातिहृद्यां शुक परिविलसन्मौलिमम्भोजनेत्रम् कालाम्भोदोज्ज्वलाङ्गं कटितटविलसच्चारुपीताम्बराढ्यम् वन्दे धन्वन्तरिं तं निखिलगदवनप्रौढदावाग्निलीलम्।
ये खाने के बाद कितना आराम है? ये वाला था 5 दिन पहले बंद कर दिया। ये दवाई चलने दीजिए और 15 दिन में कम हो जाएगा। 15 दिन का
यस सर। हेलो सर, एक आपको म्यूट किया था मैंने, आप अनम्यूट हो जाइए।
जी, धन्यवाद एक बार सभी को पुनः सभी का फिर से स्वागत करते हुए प्रोग्राम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए आज के जो मुख्य वक्ता हैं उनका मैं ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन आप सभी के समक्ष रखना चाहूंगा। जो आज हमारी वक्ता हैं वो हैं प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर हर्षिता संदीप दाहलीकर मैडम। आप हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ रोग निदान एवं प्रोफेसर के पद पर पारुल आयुर्वेद इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आयुर्वेदा एवं रिसर्च सेंटर पारुल यूनिवर्सिटी वडोदरा में कार्यरत हैं। आपने BMS और MD रोग निदान तिलक आयुर्वेद महाविद्यालय पुणे से किया हुआ है एवं PhD आपका पारुल आयुर्वेद यूनिवर्सिटी से ही कंप्लीट किया हुआ है। वर्तमान में आप हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट का दायित्व भी संभाल रहे हैं, उसके साथ कार्य कर रहे हैं। इसके साथ में मैडम का 11 साल का टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस है और उसके साथ में विगत 2 वर्षों से मैडम ज्वाइंट सुप्रिटेंडेंट ऑफ चैतन्य आयुर्वेद हॉस्पिटल भुसावल में आप साथ में वहाँ पे भी अपनी सेवाएं दे रहे हैं। 14 साल का मैडम का 14 ईयर का डिफरेंस पैथोलॉजी कंसल्टेंसी के रूप में मैडम ने एक सेंटर पे दिया हुआ है एवं 16 ईयर का एक्सपीरियंस कंसल्टेंसी इन आयुर्वेदा एंड मॉडर्न मिक्स कंसल्टेंसी एट सेल्फ ओन OPD पे भी मैडम अपनी सेवाएं प्रदान कर रहे हैं। इसके साथ में ही मैडम आज का जो मैडम ने जो टॉपिक लिया है वो प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं एप्लीकेबिलिटी ऑफ पेप स्मीयर इन प्रिवेंशन ऑफ सर्वाइकल कैंसर पे मैडम आज अपना वक्तव्य हम सभी के समक्ष में प्रस्तुत करेंगी। इसके साथ में जो आज हमारी चेयरपर्सन है वो है वैद्य ऐश्वर्या रानाडे मैडम। आप असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर तिलक आयुर्वेद महाविद्यालय पुणे में हैं और इसके साथ में मैडम का 12 ईयर का एक्सपीरियंस है और मैडम अपने आप में महाराष्ट्र की भी एक लब्ध और बहुत ही प्रख्यात हस्ती हैं। उनके भी कई एमडी और पीएचडी के स्टूडेंट वो गाइड करते हैं। एमयूएचएस की टीचर हैं, गवर्निंग बॉडी में कई में रहती हैं। मैडम को कई एल्सवेयर का एक बेस्ट रिव्यूअर अवार्ड भी मैडम को प्राप्त है और मैडम जर्मनी में और बैंकॉक में भी मैडम ने कई विदेश में यात्राएं की हैं और उन्होंने एक जर्मनी में क्लिनिकल रिसर्च ड्रग डेवलपमेंट एंड इम्यूनोलॉजी पर एक 12th इंटरनेशनल क्रेडिट पॉइंट अर्जित करते हुए जर्मनी से एक रिसर्च का कोर्स भी किया हुआ है। तो इस तरह से हमारे साथ में आज जैसा कि हमारे एक मित्र ने कहा था, इस महीने का यह फोर्थ लेक्चर है और ये नए साल में हम लोगों को मातृशक्ति की शुभकामनाएं मिलती आ रही हैं और सभी के सभी मातृशक्ति हमारे यहाँ भी ज्ञान का प्रवाह फैला रहे हैं कर रहे हैं। तो सभी को एक बार पुनः वंदन करते हुए आज की जो चेयरपर्सन है डॉक्टर ऐश्वर्या मैडम, मैं उनसे अनुमति चाहूंगा कि कृपया हम लेक्चर को स्टार्ट करें। मैडम कृपया अनुमति प्रदान करें।
जी जी सर जी मैडम
ओके
शुरू
मैडम।
कर दीजिए। यस
ओके मैडम, मैं हरिता मैडम से निवेदन करना चाहूंगा कि कृपया अपना पावर पॉइंट ऑन करके और लेक्चर को शुरू करें। हरिता मैडम,
हाँ
ओवर टू
हाँ
यू।
सर। Sir, slides are visible.
Yes, visible.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
This is our presentation topic, that is the applicability of Pap smear in prevention of cervical cancer. First, I am very glad that Academy of Rog Nidan gives me an opportunity to present on this dais, and for that I am very much thankful to the President Sir, Dr. Pawan Kumar Godatwadkar Sir, the Secretary Dr. Atul Vashne Sir, and the Coordinator Dr. Anurag Pandey Sir. Also, I am thankful to the convener Dr. Ganesh Kolle Sir and Chairperson Aishwarya Ma'am also. And then I want to declare out clear that today's presentation is to create the awareness and to notice the importance of Pap smear in cervical health management. So this presentation mainly focus on the applicability of the Pap smear in prevention of cervical cancer, as well as it will show some perspective regarding the Ayurvedic features also. So now I will start my presentation, and for that, as you all know that the cancer means it is a malignant neoplasm, and it is a proliferation of the abnormal cells, and the characteristic is mainly the invasion, means it invades the nearby tissues, and it spreads metastasis through blood and lymph vessels. Now here we see that it is a cancer, malignant cancer regarding the cervix, that is the cervical cancer. The cervical cancer is very much spread all over the world. It is the second most common female cancer in the woman, that is aged between the 15 to 44 years, and it is the fourth most cause of death or foremost cause of cancer in the female. Just you can see in the figure that after the breast and colorectal and lung, the fourth number is the cervical uterine cancer, so that occur in the female. And if we go for statistics, then in India, mainly 23rd cases are newly diagnosed as we compare to the birth rate also. And the mortality rate of that cervical cancer is very high as compared in the world. That is the 25%, means 1/4 of the cases of cervical cancer death occur in India. And the very much shocking is that is approximately at every 47 minutes, the one case is diagnosed. Generally, it occur between the 15 to 35, 44 years. That is, it occur mainly in the middle age group. But some 20% of the cases are diagnosed in women over the 65 years. So, throughout worldwide or in the WHO and our country also nation, that we are conducting this January month as a cervical awareness program. And for that, we are conducting very much programs like that is the PAPS test, VILI test, and all other tests are also conducted in the free of charges. But before going to that, we should know that is the symptoms of cervical cancer. Why it is severe? Because at precancerous stage, means at early stage, this cancer is asymptomatic. It doesn't really show any symptom. But at later stage, it shows symptoms, and these symptoms are mainly due to the cancer growth, that is through metastasis or through local spread or distant spread. Then, due to that, mainly the patient get immunocompromised and get infected with other infections, and the health problem gets started. Generalized symptoms may show that is the fatigue, weight loss, all these. But the basic characteristics of this cancer is mainly the pelvic pain and the pain during the sexual intercourse. These symptoms are mainly noticed by the patients. And also that is a abnormal vaginal bleeding and increased vaginal discharge. This abnormal vaginal bleeding is mainly related to the unusual heavy menstrual bleeding, that we can say that that is a disturbed uterine bleeding, even dysfunction uterine bleeding. And the bleeding between the two menstrual periods means the periods coming early, that is between the 15 to 18 days. Normally they come after the 21 days, but here they come early. Then the bleeding after the sexual intercourse or after the PV examination, bleeding after the douching, and bleeding after the menopause. But here the bleeding after the menopause, it is an alarming sign that you should go or you should screen the patient and you should test the patient for the cervical cancer. So in all these conditions, that the one ray of hope is that this cancer is very horrible, its characteristics are detected at later stage. But if this cancer is detected at early stage, it is very preventable. If the percentage wise, if we see that the 83 to 90% cases are detectable by pap smear, and so we can prevent the cancer at the early stage. So that regular cervical screening is very much important. And the aim of that screening is to mainly to detect the precancerous stages, and the inclusion criteria of this screening are mainly, as all of you know that there are the three types of the investigations, mainly screening, diagnostic, and prognostic investigations are there. So in screening, we take the patients which are mainly asymptomatic women of all the age group, basically from 21 to 45-60 years. And the women are at the risk of cervical cancers are also included in this category. And the basic thing is that this screening test is mainly if effective. It requires well-organized system of a follow-up and treatment, because pap smear, it is not a only gynecologist work, not pathologist work. It is a teamwork, and it need a mainly a follow-up system, so that we can prevent the cancer at early stage. So there are methods of screening. Here, VIL and VILI, these are the visual inspection method, means these are done through the pelvic examinations. Now these techniques are emerging in very much countries, because pap smear is mainly require very much laboratory setup and all these gynecology setup. But in VIL and VILI, these are carried at the remote places, or nurses also can carry these places. So government of India or other countries where mainly the basic requirements, basic facilities are not available, these tests are mainly enhanced, or they are giving importance to that test. So what is the VIL? VIL means visual examination of uterine cervix after the application of 3 to 5% acetic acid. Here, if protein is present in the squamous epithelial cells of the cervix, then it shows a whitish color, and so it can detect that there is maybe a precancerous cells present in the cervix. The VILI, that is a visual examination of uterine cervix after the application of Lugol's iodine. Basically, The cervical epithelium shows a glycogen and it is in pink color. But when it reacts with Lugol's iodine, it turns into the brown or black color. But in precancerous conditions, this glycogen content it becomes less or sometimes it is absent. And in that absent, when you apply the Lugol's iodine, then that portion of the cervix may show a yellowish color, and that yellowish color mainly ranges from mustard yellow to saffron yellow color. So they can indicate that there may be a precancerous conditions, but the limitations of these conditions that they are maybe misleading, or maybe investigations visualize is not properly done, then the case may be misplaced or misdiagnosed, so they are limited. But you can use whenever there is a low efficacy or low mainly management system is there in remote area, you can use that VIL and VILI. After that, there are another test, that is a HPV. HPV means it is mainly a virus, that is a human papilloma virus, and it is a common virus and basically spread through the sexual activity. In between the ages between 15 to 25 years, the patient get infected. Sometimes the patient don't show any symptoms, it resolve automatically, but at some time it persists the infections. And these HPV mainly affect the basal cells of the squamous epithelium of the cervix. And it is the most common cause of the CA cervix. 90% of the CA cervix are found to be HPV positive. So the HPV test is carried out, and it is at the same time when the pap smear or pap smear is collected, this HPV test is carried out, or it is maybe done by the PCR method also. And for that, there are mainly more than 150 strains are available of the HPV. The HPV-6 and HPV-11, these are the strains. They are categorized as a low risk for the cancer because they only show that is the genital warts are mainly formed, that is the cutaneous infections they show. And HPV 16 and 18, they are grouped as the higher risk and they are responsible for the cervical cancer. And after that, the main test, that is the PAP test. This is the gold standard cytological screening test, and it detects mainly the precancerous and cancerous process, that is the metaplasia, then dysplasia. All these conditions, that is metaplastic cells, can also be detected by this PAP test. Not only metaplastic test, but this test also useful to detect the estrogen activity that is related to the menopause or any endocrine assay. This can find out by this PAP test. And inflammatory changes that caused by the sexual transmitted diseases like HPV or other infections like the chlamydia, trichomoniasis vaginalis, all these infections can be observed or find out with the help of this PAP test. This PAP test is mainly given also another name, is a Papa-Nicolau smear. And this Papa-Nicolau smear or this Papa-Nicolau test, PAP test, is mainly invented by, that is a Dr. George N. Papa-Nicolau, and he is called as the father of cytopathology. He invented this mainly the staining technique, that is it is a multichromatic stains. In 1920, he used or invented this technique to assess the hormonal cycles. As you know that there are mainly a hormonal cycle, there is proliferative stage, ovulatory stage, secretory phases. So all these stages, and there is various cells are seen in the cervix or vagina. So that study was carried out first in 1920. Then in 1928, he observed or he used this technique to detect the pathological conditions. And after that, mainly in 1940, so it take a long time to develop this test, and he introduced as a cervical cytology in clinical practices. After that, in 1945, the American Cancer Society recommended this test as a preventive tool for the cancer, and now worldwide it is used as a preventive tool for the cancer. So what I tell in earlier that this PAP test is not a single man test, it is a teamwork, and that teamwork mainly need a trained gynecologist, trained nurse, and it requires cytological laboratory with trained technicians, pathologist for the interpretation of result, and the most thing that is required in India, that is the information system by health worker to ensure the follow-up contact with the patient. So here we can take that the Asha workers and Anganwadi ka Sevika, they comes under this group. And so whenever this organization is complete or when this organization is fulfilled, then this PAP test is carried out in full-fledged. So what is PAP test and how it is done, that we will see. The first, the criteria of the screening. The screening criteria generally it start at the age of 21 years. But another method or another way is that it start within the 3 years of the onset of sexual activity. Whichever it is the first that you have to start the screening. In India, in tribal areas, where the early marriages occur. So due to early marriages, also sexual activity is also occur in early phase. So you have to screen the patients. And now in your Vadodara also we find that at the 25, 26 years old patients, we get the HPV infections on the pap smear and the patients, so we screen that the patients. So early screening is very much important. Then high risk factors for cervical dysplasia, that all of you know that is mainly, that is the first sexual activity, then multiple sexual partners, the smoking habits and oral contraceptives. Oral contraceptives mainly increase the acidic environment or acidic pH in the vagina or cervix, and that may causes the or it trigger the metaplasia. It is the main function. So mainly when oral contraceptives are taken for the 5 years, 10 years, at 3 to 5 years, then it must be stopped by the physician or it must be counseled. The patient should be counseled for that. Then another way, that is the HPV and HIV positive women are also the higher risk factors and they should be screened annually. So here you can see that is the age group, that is below 21 years, that is it is generally not required. 21 to 29 years, it is the group criteria that at every 3 years you should go for the PAP test. But after 30 to 65 years, you have two options, that you go for the every 3 years for the PAP test, or you can go for PAP test and HPV test, that is combined tests are done. And if you go for combined test, then you should take the follow-up after every 5 years. Above 65 years, generally it is not required, but you have to consult with your physicians. Then higher risk groups, whatever I earlier told, that they require the annual screening. Sometimes we say that when to stop screening, that generally women above 65 years, the physician had to take decision where she have to screen or not. So there are some criteria that at least 3 consecutive negative PAP tests should be there before stopping that her screening. So minimum 15 years span that the patient giving the report, that the negative report regarding the PAP test, and at least 2 negative HPV tests within the previous 10 years. So whenever 15 and 10 years her reports are negative for PAP test and HPV, then only you can advise her to stop the screening. Then another criteria that to stop the screening is mainly the total hysterectomy. But here one more point is that the total hysterectomy, when it is done or advised or done by for the benign lesions. If total hysterectomy is done for any malignant regions, then you have to take a vaginal sample, vaginal smear, to detect the spread of the cancer or to detect the metastasis. So that in that case, you can't stop or you can't stop the screening of that patient. Generally, after that, we see the period of testing. Generally, the mid-cycle, it is the preferable time that we can test this PAP test. Uh, the day 14 cycle, it is very optimal, and 2 week after the first day of their last menstrual period, it is the main day, or that because at that time mainly the cell morphology is most easily interrupted. The proliferative phase has just completed and the secretory phase just started. So on the smear you can get mainly the squamous cells, mature squamous cells, and at the intermediate cells also. So it will be easy to interpret the result mainly. And the one main thing, that is the smear should not be obtained during active menses, as you know that because this blood or these erythrocytes on the slides may interfere the readings. So after that, when you convince the patient or any ladies to check for the pap smear, so general instructions are given to the patient that and these instructions are necessary mainly to get the good quality of smear for the interpretations, and that are mainly to avoid the intercourse for the 2 days. The patient should avoid tampons, birth control foams, jelly, any vaginal medications that should be stopped before 48 hours or 2 days before the test. Then patient also refrain from douching from the 1 day. In many countries or in India, whenever we arrange a camp, just camp in any village, then we can't pass this message of all these things, and the sample is collected. But this is not the ideal method. What the instructions should be passed to the patients firstly, and then when you collect the sample, it's very preferably, and you can get such good results. So, but if it is not possible, you can collect sample, you see, but whenever you observe any abnormality, you have to check the patient, or you have to repeat that sample also. Okay, you have to advise patient to repeat the test. So when you have to collect the sample, you should know whether what is the mainly anatomically or histological position of the cervix. The cervix is anatomically divided into the ectocervix and the endocervix. That ectocervix part is seen through the vagina, protruded through vagina, and you can see through the PV examination that you can find that is the external orifice. And this ectocervix is lined by mainly non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. And then another main part is the endocervix. This is the part between the external os and the internal os, and this is lined by the columnar epithelium. So when you have to collect sample, you have to collect sample from the squamous columnar junction. Means it is the meeting point between the squamous cells, epithelial cells, and the columnar epithelial cells. And its location on the cervix is very well. And this mainly influenced by mainly the age group, or according to hormonal state, this squamocolumnar junction is changing its position. So here you can see that is when at the birth or at the premenarcheal age, this squamocolumnar junction is just nearer to the, or to the mainly the external os. So here you can see that is the endocervix that is lined by the columnar epithelium, extocervix that is lined by squamous epithelium, and this is the original squamocolumnar junction. It is nearer to the external os. In between the reproductive age group, it is just shifted to the lateral side of the external os. And when we come, it is the perimenopausal age, then this squamocolumnar junction is shifted towards the endocervix, and there is a new squamocolumnar junction is formed. Mainly the ectropion is formed, that is the cells which are converted then into the transformation zones. And this transformation zone area is very much important to collect the sample, because squamous metaplasia, that what we have to detect, that is the precancerous conditions, that we can get the cells from this transformation zone. So the transformation zone means it is the zone between the original squamocolumnar junction and the physiologically active squamocolumnar junction. and it is the main site of the squamous metaplasia. So keep in mind that is the transformation zone is very important, and you have to collect the sample from this area. For collection of the pap smear, there are two methods. First, there is a conventional method that we take the sample using the Cusco scapulum and then the spatula, and then that sample is sprayed on a slide, and that slides are sent to the laboratory. This is the conventional method. The another method, that is the liquid-based cytology method, and this is the newer technique. In this technique, here I show you the thin PEP method. Another method is sure path method. But here the sample is collected and in a liquid form, means the collected sample is mixed with a liquid bottles which are containing a specific fixative, and they are mixed with fixative, and these liquid bottles are sent to the laboratory, and after that these liquid bottles pass through a specific machines, and these machines mainly prepare the slides. So thin prep slide is prepared by these machines, and all this process take only 80 to 90 seconds. So a very fast and robotic technique, and after that you can see the slides are very clear, and so the cells identification is very clear and in liquid based cytology. But as these machines are also costly, in general we use the conventional method. So I know that all of you are Rognidanin and you are working as a pathologist. So in your laboratory, the sample is coming directly. But as a pathologist, you should know that how the sample collected or what is the technique collection of the this sample. So first of that is mainly you have to inform or explain that patient. So the patient get mainly convinced or it get relaxed. Then advise the patient to void and provide it privacy. And assistant position of to lithotomy, drape the patient. These are mainly carried out by the nurse, assistant nurse, and they carry very well this process. And the required instrument is that mainly the disposable sterile gloves, atoclum instruments such as Cusco's vaginal speculum, sponge holder, and kidney tray are required. These are the main instruments to collect the samples. If you are taking a sample in a conventional method way, then you require the glass slide. If you are sending the sample in liquid cytology, then you should require this bottle, mainly liquid bottles. And these are the various spatulas and brush. So before that, in using that cotton swabs, but now cotton swabs are prohibited because when the cells are taken or scrapped by this cotton swab, the cells are get attached to the cotton and they can't get detached or with they can't spread easily on the slide. So the result will be false. So we are using here mainly the wooden spatula or plastic spatula. And if the patient is in perimenopausal age, you can use cyto brush or broom also. So the wooden spatula, that is mainly the Ayers anatomical spatula, is very much used when you can collect the mainly kit. In that kit, you can find this wooden spatula, and you can see that the concave end to fit the cervix and convex end for the vaginal wall, and it is usually used for the scraping the uterus. So firstly, here when you insert to mainly Cusco speculum, because it is a self-retaining speculum, so you have to use that, and mainly pre-warm speculum is mainly introduced, and I've had lubricant because lubricant may also interpret or obscure the results. So जितना होता है उतना lubricant avoid करो. But if the patient is in perimenopausal age or she is elderly 50 to 60 maybe, then at the same time you can apply lubricant, but apply water-based lubricant at the lower side of the speculum. Then the first thing is that to observe or to identify the squamocolumnar junction, because from that squamocolumnar junction you have to collect the sample. So here you can see that at the reproductive age group, that is a nulli gravida, the squamocolumnar junction is near to the external os. So you can collect the sample with spatula, in reproductive age group, when the squamocolumnar junction is just lateral to the external os, then here you can also collect with the spatula, but at postmenopausal age you have to use the cyto brush. And these are the techniques. When you are using this wooden spatula, you have to rotate it at 360 degree, and you are using, when cyto brush, you have to rotate it at 180 degree for the endocervical sample. So here I will show you the some videos.
Water may be used to lubricate the speculum. If the patient is uncomfortable, a small amount of water-soluble, carbomer-free gel lubricant can be applied to the posterior blade of the speculum. Hologic recommends use of carbomer-free lubricant because lubricants containing carbomers may interfere with the ThinPrep pap test. It is important to remember to use only a dime-sized amount of carbomer-free lubricant. Apply lubricant only to the exterior sides of the speculum, avoiding the tip. Perform a brief visual examination of the cervix. Remove excess mucus or other discharge present before taking the sample. This should be gently removed with ring forceps, holding a folded gauze pad. Cells will be collected from the squamocolumnar junction, or transformation zone. This is the area where the endocervical columnar cells merge with the ectocervical squamous cells, and it is also where most dysplasia develops. Cervical specimens can be collected with a brush-spatula combination or a broom-like device. When using the brush-spatula combination, start with the spatula, which is designed to contact the ectocervix only. Select the contoured end of the spatula and rotate it 360 degrees around the entire ectocervix, while maintaining tight contact with the exocervical surface. Next, rinse the spatula in the ThinPrep vial by swirling the device vigorously at least 10 times. Next, use the brush to obtain adequate specimen from the endocervix. Insert the brush into the cervix until only the bottommost fibers are exposed. This increases the likelihood that the brush is contacting the full transformation zone, even if it is not visible. Slowly rotate 1/4 to 1/2 turn in one direction only. It is very important not to over-rotate the brush. Studies have shown that turning the collection device more than 180 degrees does not increase cellular yield and may cause bleeding. Rinse the brush in the same vial used for the spatula. Rotate 10 times while pushing against the vial wall. After rotating, swirl the brush vigorously to release additional cellular material. The broom-like device is designed to contact the ecto and endocervix simultaneously. Collect the specimen by inserting the central bristles of the broom into the endocervical canal, deep enough to allow the shorter bristles to fully contact the ectocervix. Push gently and rotate 5 times in a clockwise direction. Immediately rinse the specimen into the ThinPrep vial by pushing the broom against the bottom of the vial 10 times, forcing the bristles to bend apart. Next, swirl the broom vigorously to release additional cellular material. Water may be used to...
So here you see the procedure, that is how the sample is collected. In that video, we collected sample in the by the liquid-based cytology method. Now, when we collected sample in the conventional method, then you have to prepare, after collecting sample, you have to prepare the smear. And for that, first step is that is the marking the slide, and this is very mandatory, and it is have medical legal importance also. that, and at the time of labeling, that there should be the last name of the patient should be written on that on the four-sided end of the slide, and date of the birth. If the surname is very large, then they are given that only 7 letters, first 7 letters are used to write on the slide. So generally it is a spreading, that is a mono layer is generally required to spread that material on the slide. And here you can see the one small
A
video.
glass microscope slide should be labeled on the frosted end with a patient identifier according to your office procedure. Once the sample has been collected, paint the entire length of the clear portion of a glass slide with one side of the brush. Then turn the brush over. Paint the entire length of the slide again, as demonstrated. Ideally, the smears made by each side of the brush should overlap. You should avoid placing the collected sample on the frosted end of the glass slide. After applying the sample to the glass slide, immediately spray the slide with fixative. A glass.
So here you also see that is the how the conventional method sample is collected and it is sprayed. Now mainly the sample that is collected, it is to prevent mainly air drying effect. It is generally fixed by the gynecologist or by nurse at the OT also mainly, and immediate fixation is very necessary to prevent air drying and a distortion of the cells. And because this air drying or distortion of the cells is prevented by the immediate fixation, and it permits nuclear good staining, and it also causes the hemolysis of the RBCs. So we can get cells, and we can interpret very easily. Now you can see that there is a commercial fixatives are available there, and they are generally made up of the propylene. But the one more thing that keep in mind that there is to keep the distance between at least 10 to 12 inches between the spreader and this fixators and slide. So or evenly spread this fixation on the slide. Another conventional method that is generally used in many institute is that when you collect or you prepare the slide, you just dip that slide in a 95% alcohol, or you can use that is the 95% rectified spirit, or methanol may also be used. And after that, you have to send that slide to the pathologist or mainly to the laboratory. You have to send. Then this post care is done by the nurse and doctors who are collected, and the basic thing that mainly that you have to tell the patient to inform the excessive bleeding after the procedure. Generally this procedure is painless, but sometimes patients may get uneasy due to this PV examination or all this cusco speculum or this scraping process. So or sometimes it may bleed. Normally there is a bleeding for 2 to 5 minutes, but after that, if it is a continuously bleeding, then it should be stopped, or it may be emergency conditions. Then coming to our staining process technique, that here has collected material or slide, they are stained by the Papanicolaou stain. As you know that these are the cytological techniques, and this Papanicolaou stain is mainly a polychromatin stain, and means it is in that stain multiple dyes are present, and this they differentiate, and due to that maybe their cells are get various different colors, and so it will be easier to identify the cell types mainly. We can identify the different cells, then we can identify the prominent nuclear cytoplasmic abnormalities can also be seen with that stain also. Another thing that this Papanicolaou stain is not only used for this pap smear, but other cytological tests such as FNAC, then any body fluid examination, that is cerebrospinal, synovial, for all that cytological tests also this stain can be used. The principle of staining means it is the staining principle, and that we also go for it mainly in Leishman stains in second year also, that mainly the stain uses any both basic and acidic dyes. the cellular components, mainly that is the nucleus, it is the acidic component of the cell. And this acidic component is mainly stained by the basic stain, and the acidic dyes stain the basic components of the cells like cytoplasm. So here you have to keep in mind that the nucleus is the acidic component of the cells, and cytoplasm, it is the basic components of the cells, and they are stained by the opposite dyes. In Pap stain, it involves the 5 dyes in a 3 solutions. So this Pap stain mainly include, that is the hemtoxylin, it is the main dye and it is the natural dye, and it stains the nucleus mainly bluish to dark blackish color. Then orange J6 dye it is an acidic counter stain, and it mainly stains the cytoplasm of the keratinized squamous cells. The keratinized squamous cells, if they are present, then they show that is a yellow color mainly. And if it is a glycogen अगर present होता है तो उसमें भी आपको yellow color मिल सकता है. Then the third dye, that is the eosin azure. Commercially, it is available as EA31, EA50, and EA65, depending upon the constituents which are present in that dye. Generally, this dye contain mainly 3 combinations or 3 main elements, that is the eosin Y, light green SF, and Bismarck brown. But now Bismarck brown is not used, but this eosin Y, these stain the cytoplasm of the mature squamous cells, nucleoli, and red blood cells and cilia. So when these dyes stain any cells, that it looks like a pink in color. And the light green SF, this stains the cytoplasm of the active cells such as columnar cells, parabasal cells, intermediate cells, then it looks like the blue color. So depending on the color of the cells, that is the pink color, blue color, orange color, you can identify the cell type and you can find the abnormalities which are present in that particular cell. The dyeing or mainly the staining process that it involve mainly, it is a principal process, and it take a very much time. That is the rehydration of the smear. When you get a slide in your laboratory, then first step is that rehydrate the smear. Even if it is air dried, and you have to rehydrate smear, and for that it is the graded alcohol in descending manners. Means in a laboratory there are various containers or beakers are placed, that is 90% alcohol, 80%, 70%, or 90, 80, 75 in any way, but they are in descending order. Then the slide is just deep in that container, and after that nuclear stain is applied as a hemtoxylin. After that bluing, that is a weak alkaline solution, is applied, and then after that the cytoplasmic stain, that is orange G6 stain is applied. At the same time cytoplasmic EA stain is applied, and after that the slide is again get dehydrated by the ascending grades. So here the beakers are placed like that, is a 70%, 80%, or 90%, or 75, or 85, or 95% alcohol. After that dehydration, then the slide is deep in a xylene, 2 beakers of the xylene to clear the to color change, and after that xylene, this slide is mounted with DPX solutions, and then after we watch under the microscope. So when I explain this process, this is a very time consuming. It is taking the 20 to 30 minutes. And here that the pap smear should be passed in the first in ascending order, in descending order. So it get very much time. So now newer techniques are emerged or are used in practice. That is rapid pap staining. And in that there are various methods are also there. The one method is they are using 1% acetic acid, or now we are using the commercial kits. In our laboratory, Sevashram, we are using the BioLab commercial kit, and these kits are mainly used with and the process is completed within 5 minutes. mainly the dependency of large amount of alcohol and expensive ethyl alcohol can be reduced, because in India to get a laboratory the alcohol permission or license is very much difficult, and ethyl alcohol is very costly. So to avoid all these circumstances, or the laboratories are mainly using rapid pap stain. So in that rapid pap stain, you have to first hydrate, then smear for 3 to 5 minutes, then add nuclear stain, then dehydrate and cytoplasm stain. So all these steps are mainly 60 seconds, 20 seconds, 60 seconds. So you can stain the slide within 5 minutes, and it's very reliable. And now it is ready that you can report the pap smear in 2 to 3 days also. So here this is the video.
न्यूक्लियर स्ट्रेन, ठीक है, फर्स्ट स्ट्रेन है हमारी ये। अब हमारी सेकंड स्ट्रेन है हमारी वॉश बफर, जिससे हमें क्या करना है, इसे वॉश करना है। तो ये हमारा थर्ड आ गया डिहाइड्रेट, जिससे हमें डिहाइड्रेट करना है। फिर हमारा फोर्थ आता है साइटोप्लाज्म स्टेन, बट हमें साइटोप्लाज्म स्टेन बनानी पड़ेगी तो हमें पहले स्टॉक सोल्यूशन जो हमारा है उसमें से हमें अपना वर्किंग सोल्यूशन बनाना होगा। वर्किंग सोल्यूशन हमें बनाने के लिए हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, जो हमारी साइटोप्लाज्म स्टेन है 2A जो आपको दिख रही है इसमें, और 2B, इसमें हमें इक्वल अमाउंट में ऐड करके हमें हमारा वर्किंग सोल्यूशन 2A साइटोप्लाज्म प्रिपेयर करके पहले से रखना है। आगे आता है हमारा डिहाइड्रेट, ये हमारा है हमारा 5th नंबर की स्ट्रेन, और 6th नंबर में हमारा आता है ज़ाइलीन। और लास्टली जब हमारी फुल स्ट्रेन हो जाती है तो हम यूज करते हैं DPX स्लाइड को माउंट करने के लिए।
हम अपनी FNAC की स्लाइड को सबसे पहले डायमंड मार्कर से मार्क कर लेंगे।
मार्किंग करना जरूरी इसलिए होता है क्योंकि बहुत सारे जाता है हमारा, तो हमने आपको समझाने के लिए मार्किंग करके दिखा रखी है। तो आप देख सकते हो उसमें मार्किंग करी हुई है, ठीक है। और हमारी जो ये फिक्स पहले से ही हमारी अल्कोहल में फिक्स है स्लाइड, इसको हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं। ये हमारी फर्स्ट स्टेन है न्यूक्लियर स्टेन। जो हमारी न्यूक्लियर स्टेन है तो हमारी हम इसको क्या करेंगे, हम कॉपी डाल लेंगे, और हमारा जो फर्स्ट स्टेप है कि हम इसको इसमें प्लेस कर देंगे और 1 मिनट के लिए छोड़ देंगे। 1 मिनट हमारा पूरा हो गया है तो हम अपना सेकंड स्टेप स्टार्ट करते हैं। हमारा फर्स्ट स्टेप पूरा हो गया है तो हमें इसको टैप वाटर से वॉश कर लेना है। ये हमारा सेकंड स्टेप है वॉश बफर। हम सेकंड स्टेप अपना करेंगे, इसमें हम डाल देंगे वॉश बफर, और हम इसमें डाल देते हैं स्लाइड। हमने इसमें स्लाइड डाल दिए, वो भी हमें 20 सेकेंड्स के लिए, ठीक है। अब नेक्स्ट स्टेप हमारा जो हमारा है डिहाइड्रेट, जिससे हम क्या करेंगे, इसको डिहाइड्रेट करेंगे, ठीक है। इसे वॉश कर लिए, फिर इसके बाद हम करेंगे हम डाल देंगे डिहाइड्रेट में। डिहाइड्रेट में हम डालेंगे ये 1 मिनट के लिए डाल के हम डिहाइड्रेट में छोड़ देंगे। फिर हम हमें क्या करना है, स्टेन करना है साइटोप्लाज्म। एक मिनट हमारा हो चुका है। अब हम इसके बाद नेक्स्ट स्टेप अपना करेंगे जो है हमारा साइटोप्लाज्म स्टेन, जो हमने पहले से प्रिपेयर करके रखा था वर्किंग सोल्यूशन में। इसके बाद हम इसको डाल देंगे साइटोप्लाज्म स्टेन में। साइटोप्लाज्म स्टेन में डालने के बाद हम 1 मिनट के लिए, 5th स्टेप हमारा पूरा हो गया है। हमने साइटोप्लाज्म स्टेन से स्टेन कर लिया है। आफ्टर दैट हम क्या करेंगे, इसको वॉश करेंगे। वॉश करेंगे रनिंग गैस वाटर, ठीक है। और हमारा है डिहाइड्रेट करना है। जब हमने साइटोप्लाज्म स्टेन से स्टेन कर लिया है और हमने वॉश कर लिया है तो उसके बाद हमें करना है डिहाइड्रेट करना। ये हमारा सेकंड स्टेप है, ठीक है। तो हम इसको डिहाइड्रेट करेंगे 1 मिनट के लिए। तो हम इसको प्लेस कर देते हैं कॉफी डाल के 1 मिनट के लिए। सेकंड स्टेप हमारा कंप्लीट हो चुका है। हमने क्या किया था, इसको डिहाइड्रेट किया था। डिहाइड्रेट हमारी हो चुकी है स्लाइड। इसके बाद क्या करेंगे हम, ग्राइंडिंग में इसको डाल देंगे, ठीक है, रिंस कर देंगे। इसके बाद जब ग्राइंडिंग हमारी ये रिंस हो जाएगी, इसके बाद क्या करना है हमें, हमारी स्लाइड चेंज हो चुकी है। अब हम क्या करेंगे, इसको हो चुका है ग्राइंडिंग में हमारी, हमने पेस्ट कर दी थी अपनी स्लाइड। इसके बाद क्या करेंगे, जब हमने पेस्ट कर दी है, इसके बाद हम क्या करेंगे, हम कवर स्लिप लेंगे, ठीक है। हमने कवर स्लिप ली है, अब हम इसमें क्या डालेंगे, DPH डालेंगे। DPH डाल के छोड़ देंगे और हम इसमें क्या करेंगे, इसको प्लेस कर देंगे। देखिए इस तरीके से हमारी पूरी स्टेनिंग हो गई है, पैप स्टेनिंग। ये हमारी रैपिड पैप स्टेनिंग है जो हमने परफॉर्म की है। इस तरीके से हमने हमारी न्यूक्लियर स्टेन, ठीक है, फर्स्ट स्टेन।
You see the procedure how to stain this slide with rapid pap stain. So here you can get the various colors on the slide when you observe the slide under the microscope. That is the red, orange, yellow, green, blue. So the entire, it displays hues from the entire spectrum, and so that you can identify the cells very well. Generally, these cells are seen on the seen through the microscope mainly, and the nuclei you look, that is a blue color, and that is, or mainly the keratin cells are orange red color, superficial cells are pink color, and intermediate and parabasal cells are bluish green color. Other pathogens are may be seen, or their inflammatory changes may be observed on the slides. That is due to the candida, that is the cells may be show that is red in color, trichonoma, that is a gray and green color. So it also be observed on the slide. But basically, one should know how the squamous epithelium, that is the histology of squamous epithelium, then one can understand the types of the cells. Generally, this squamous epithelium is mainly covered the ectocervix, and it contains the 4 layers of the scale, means there is a basal layer, parabasal, intermediate, and superficial layers. And now you can see that superficial squamous cells. These pictures are mainly taken by this liquid-based cytology method, so you can easily understand the cell type. And these superficial squamous cells are mainly seen during the proliferative phase, during 1 to 14 days of the menses cycle. And these cells are generally pink in color, and these are polygonal. And you see that cytoplasm is eosinophilic and pink. The nucleus is smaller, pycnotic. Then this is the intermediate squamous cells, and it is mainly seen, it is abundant during the secretory phase after the 14 days. And these cells are mainly the bluish color, polygonal, and you can see that is these are the bluish nuclei also there present. And third type cell that is present is parabasal cells. These are the immature squamous cells. The first, that is, as you are seeing, that is the mature cells, and after we are going up to the last stage, that is the parabasal and basals. These are the immature squamous cells, and these parabasal cells are mainly round and oval shape. Nucleus is relatively large as compared to the cytoplasm of that particular cell. And the basal cells, these are very small and they seen as a bluish color, and cytoplasm is dense and cyanophilic, and nucleus larger, and fine reticular chromatins are present in that basal cells. So basal cells and parabasal cells are bluish in color, they are round in color. The squamous cells, that is the mature cell, it is a pink in color, and the intermediate cell, and it is the intermediate cell that it is a mainly parameter to know the NC ratio, it is in bluish coloring. So if you keep this color or these cells in mind, then you can find easily on the microscope. Then another types of the cells, that is the endocervical cells. When the sample is taken from the endocervix, you can get these endocervical cells. Normally these endocervical cells, this is the conventional method that you can see, that is these are the columnar cells. So this look like the column-like cells. And in the liquid-based cytology method, this is the slide, and you can get that is these are also column-like, but sometimes they show like the honeycomb-like structure also. So endocervical cells are generally present between the 40 to 45 years when you are taken sample from the endocervix. So normal pap smear, how it looks. So here you can see, this is a beautiful picture, and you can see the various different colors, and you can easily understand that that is the bluish color intermediate cells, then pink color mature squamous epithelial cell, and some endocervical cells. So this is the normal pap smear. Then now you have to identify the metaplastic cell. But before that, what is the metaplasia? It is a big question. The metaplasia, it is mainly the conversion of one type of cell into the another cell, but within the same tissue. So here in cervical cancer, that there is a physiological replacement of the everted columnar epithelial on the ectocervix by newly formed squamous epithelial, and generally the subcolumnar reserve cells are get metaplased here, and this metaplasia is mainly a precursor to low grade dysplasia. So you have to identify these metaplastic cells also, and for that obviously you have to collect the sample from the transformation zone. So after that, cervical dysplasia. So metaplasia, dysplasia, these are the pathogenic stages that occur in the any cancer, cervical cancer disease. And dysplasia means it is a condition marked by the growth of abnormal cells on the surface of the cervix, and that leads to the cervical cancer. So you can directly observe the cell, or you can see by PV examination or via VIL technique or any, you can see the cervical erosions or these cells present on the this ectocervix. Then what is the classification of dysplasia? Dysplasia means it is a metaplasia and a hyperplasia. Means metaplastic cells are metaplastic, and they are hyperplasia means they are in a very large amount, they are present. So in the oldest method, that is, but this method is taken back on the 1950s. But in book you can get this classification of the cervical dysplasia, that is a mild, moderate, and severe dysplasia. The mild dysplasia means that an abnormal cell involve only lower third of the squamous epithelial. Moderate means abnormal cells involve the lower and middle third of the squamous epithelium, and severe dysplasia means upper third of the squamous epithelium is involved. Then another classification, but it is related to the histology mainly, and it is introduced in 1970s, and the cervical intraepithelial neoplasia, that is CIN. So mainly it is related to histological findings when you are taken a sample for biopsies. So these terminologies are used. But why I given here, because sometimes when you go through text, you can't identify which terminology is used. So keep in mind that this CIN classification mainly used for the biopsy findings. And this CIN1, that is, it is related co-equivalent to the mild dysplasia, CIN to the moderate dysplasia, and CIN3, that is include severe dysplasia. But now, the pap test reporting is mainly based, that is, it is a cytological. We are observing the cells. So, and this system of classification, the Bethesda system, it provides a framework for consistent interlaboratory terminology and reporting cervicogenesis cytology specimen. The first time this system is coined in 1988, and it updated in 1991, 2001, and 2014. Because the meeting or conference was held at the Bethesda, Maryland of the so the name is given to that system. The cytological classification of cervical dysplasia, it's our main theme or main our interpretation. So you should use the word that is a squamous intraepithelial lesions. So squamous intraepithelial lesions means SIL. It is the term used for the cytological classification, and these terms are reported on the pap smear. So what is the difference between these SAI, or what is the classifications are there? See, this is the normal cells. So you can see here that is the all 4 types of the squamous epithelial in a good manner or in good texture or in good structure. Then there is a low grade squamous intraepithelial lesions. These low grade squamous intraepithelial lesions are mainly include the N1 grade or very mild dysplasia. So these 2 conditions which are now in biopsy findings we are getting that included under the LSIL, and the second most is that the high grade squamous intraepithelial lesions, that is HSIL, and in that they include mainly the moderate dysplasia, severe dysplasia, and carcinoma in situ also. Cervical cancer is carcinoma in situ. So here you can see that in LSIL only the upper part, that is the mature squamous epithelial cells and intermediate cells layer is only affected. But in HSIL, that mainly all these 4 layers, that is the basal, parabasals, and intermediate and all these 4 layers get affected, and they change their shapes, and their cellularity also get changed. And in cervical cancer, they get spread to the another tissues. So this is cervical cancer in situ. So this is the classification, how much part of that squamous epithelial is get affected. Depending on that part, mainly LSIL and HSIL marking is done. So when PAP test reporting, in PAP test reporting, there are the mainly 3 to 4 criteria. The first criteria is specimen type. So in what way specimen is collected? Does it is a conventional smear or it is a liquid-based preparation, that you should have to mention. Then second one is very important, that is a specimen adequacy, and it is very mandatory that is the specimen is satisfactory or unsatisfactory for evaluation. ये आपको पता होना चाहिए. Then satisfactory sample for smear. What is meant by satisfactory sample? Means appropriate labeling with relevant clinical information should be there on the sample. Then there should be adequate number of well-preserved and visualized squamous epithelial cells are there. In conventional method, minimum 8 to 12,000 cells should be present on that slide. Then the slide also contains some at least 10 endocervical cells, but this adequacy criteria is when there are some exceptions, and they are these exceptions mainly when woman's post chemotherapy, if it is on radiotherapy or in postmenopausal cases or in ectopic changes, then the required squamous cells quantity, the 8,000, it decreased to the 5,000 cells only. And these are the satisfactory sample for evaluation, but limited interpretation when blood sample is there, or you can get partially blood, not allowed to see the smear, so you cannot identify the cells. And if the smear is thick, if the poor technical fixation is poor, then you cannot interpret that the sample. Unsatisfactory sample means that is a lack of patient identification. So if specimen if no any labeling, then you have to reject the sample. Then if the slides are broken, then also you have to reject, or it is unsatisfactory. And even a scant squamous epithelium means squamous epithelium अगर बहुत ही कम है, below 2000 है, तो you cannot identify the cells, so you can reject the sample, but you have to mention the reason why this is unsatisfactory and you are rejecting the sample. But one more thing that you have to keep in mind, that if any abnormal cell is detected, the specimen is never categorized as unsatisfactory, then you have to report this abnormal cell, even if the cell count is low or squamous cells are not adequate. Then main reporting section, that it include mainly the 4 criteria. That is the first one, that is a negative for intraepithelial lesions or malignancy, means the pap smear test is a negative. Then the other findings mean endometrial cells are present, that is the quality indicator. And the third point is epithelial cell abnormalities and other malignancies. The first thing, that what is meant by negative pap smear? It's very important because negative pap smear means it is a negative for the precancerous cells, that is, the abnormal findings are not related to the risk of cancer. This is the first way. The second one is that is negative for benign cellular changes. And this category is again categorized or subcategorized into two types, mainly infection and inflammation, or any atrophy. Means the slide shows some infections, and that slide due to maybe show due to the infection due to the any candida, trichomonas vaginalis, or any herpes infection. But these infections that not correlated, or they can't produce any say, cancer symptoms or any malignant symptoms. So they are labeled as negative, though they are showing infection, but they are not at the risk of higher cancer group, so they are labeled as a negative. The same way that if the slide is showing the inflammatory changes, and these inflammatory changes are mainly due to the surgery, radiation, or any intrauterine devices, just like copper T, tampons. So, due to the copper T or any tampons, mainly tampons in Ayurvedic Kadha drug that they are using the pichus of various. So, may it cause irritations and inflammatory changes are also there. So, you have to keep in mind that these inflammatory changes not suggestive of any cancer, then they are grouped as a negative. The same way for the atrophy, if in the postmenopausal woman, then the cells automatically show the atrophy, and they are labeled as a negative. Then the basic points of this pap smear is mainly the squamous cell abnormalities, and these squamous cell abnormalities are mainly classified in the four groups. The first group, that is for going to the categorization, that is the atypical squamous cell with unknown significance, or typical squamous cell with excluding HICL वगैरह. Before that, you should know what is the nucleocytoplasmic ratio, that is the NC ratio. See here, because this reporting is mainly based on the NC ratios mainly, and for that the intermediate cells, that is the bluish color cell, is mainly taken as a standard parameter to identify the other cells. So here you can see this is the cytoplasm of the intermediate cell, and this is bluish color, and his nucleus is also bluish color. But when this NC ratio is increased, whenever cells get immatured, then the NC ratio get increased. Means at a stage that is normally the intermediate cells, in intermediate cells there is a 25% nucleus and 75% is the cytoplasm. This is a normal intermediate cell. The normal nucleus shape is 8 diameter of these intermediate cells. But whenever the cell changes their forms, means that is a LSIL, means low squamous grade intraepithelial lesions or high squamous intraepithelial lesions, then in that cases, see in first, that is LSIL, means in low stages, there is a cytoplasm is get hyperchromic, it is dark blue in color, and as compared to intermediate cell in this region, the cytoplasm it get reduced. But at the same time, the nucleus is also get increased. The nucleus is well increased, and it's also hyperchromic. So the percentage is a minimum 40%, or it is less than 50%. That is a LSIL. Then HSIL, in that you can see that the cytoplasm of the cell is shrunken. The cytoplasmic cavity cytoplasm is mainly less in quality and quantity, and the whole nucleus is capturing that cell, and the nucleus is in large area
Madam?
or in large quantity. So
Madam,
you
please
can read
conclude.
a HSIL.
Madam, please conclude.
The first is that is the ACUS, means that is the cytological changes, but here there is slightly increased NC ratios, and the nuclei 3 times to normal or intermediate scales, but they are insignificant. So number of cells are very low in quantity, so they are ACUS, and mainly 80 to 90% reports are of these types. Then ACH means this is the second type, but here they are show the inflammatory changes, and you have to observe that inflammatory changes and treat the patients in that way. Here also you can see that the nucleus is also increased. In LSIL also, that is this intermediate cells, and you can see mainly the increased nucleus size. HSIL means it is the large stage, and here you can see that is they are acquiring the whole nucleus of the acquiring the cytoplasm. So it is a HSIL cell, and the NC ratio is highly increased here. This slide mainly shows that the keratinized squamous cell. You can find the orange color slides on this, and they show the keratinized squamous cells, and these are the abnormal cells, and you can see the different cells and the immature cells also. In non-keratinizing cells, they are the bluish color, and the cells are mainly very abnormal, and you can identify as a squamous cell carcinoma. Sometimes there are the endocervical cells. These endocervical cells, these are the normal cells, but when they are abnormal, then you can see that these are the overlapping, they are increased in size, and their ratio is also increased. So basically what you have to do, that when the patient is a normal report, you have to send the patient or advice for the regular screening. If the patient is giving the report ASCUS means insignificant, then treat the inflammatory causes. What is the inflammation causes? Then you have to advise for regular screening. But if patient in say third stage ASCH, then you have to advise it HPV test along with colposcopy. And in LSIL and HSIL stages, you have to do advise HPV, and at the same time you have to advise for the biopsy. This is the further management. Then limitation of the test means the single test cannot detect the cervical abnormalities, and its method has specificity 98% and sensitivity 51%. So frequent screening is very necessary for this process. Some Ayurvedic perspective that I just mentioned, that in Ayurveda, when your OPD comes the patient, that is, you can't generally diagnose as a cervical cancer. The patient coming in Ayurvedic OPD, you diagnose it as a Yoni Vyapad. So Vimshati Yoni Vyapad are given by Acharyas, and here you can see the hetus of Yoni Vyapad. So all Yoni Vyapad cases should be assessed for cervical health management with the help of pap smear. So it will be easy, or you can manage the patient, or you can give the patient proper instructions. So Yoni Vyapad cases should be managed by the pap smear. Then again, the main NC ratios, because this NC ratios is mainly the criteria of the differentiation or stages of the this HSIL, LSIL stages. So what is that? Mainly it is a Koshta Shakhi Vikruta Gati, and nuclear cytoplasmic ratio increases in mainly cervical dysplasia. Means if this ratio is get increased, then you can see that from 0.3 to 0.38, the NC ratio is increases, and cells you are seeing here that various unmature. And this dysplasia mainly occurred due to the Akanuja Hetu, like that is HPV. Then last one is, that is I have to mention that there is the Abhavaja Vyadhi concept. It is not related to the pap smear, but when VILI test, you are detecting the absence of glycogen in cervical epithelium. It may give you the Abhavaja Vyadhi, and you can also find out, or you can take this unit also. So the take home message is that is 83% of
Hello, madam, are you here? संभवतः शायद मैडम का नेटवर्क डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया, और वो लास्ट स्लाइड पे ही थी। डॉक्टर हर्षिता मैडम, आप सुन पा रहे हैं क्या हम लोगों को?
मैडम डिस्कनेक्ट तो नहीं हुई है, या लिस्ट में दिख रहा है मैडम।
हाँ, दिख रहे हैं बट उनका आवाज़ नहीं आ रहा है। कोई बात नहीं, मैडम का ये लास्ट स्लाइड था। तो डॉक्टर हर्षिता मैडम ने एक बहुत ही वंडरफुल लेक्चर हम सभी के समक्ष प्रस्तुत किया। Thanking you madam for your comprehensive lecture on pap smear. Basically this lecture will help to our PGs particularly in the field of the diagnosis of cervical cancer, cervix cancer. And now I wish to invite Dr. Aishwarya Ranade madam for her valuable comment. हाँ मैडम, आप आ गए हैं क्या?
हाँ, मैं दूसरे मोबाइल से ज्वाइन हो गई हूँ, रेंज का प्रॉब्लम था।
ओके मैडम, आपने बहुत ही अच्छा लेक्चर प्रस्तुत किया, आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और अब मैं इनवाइट करना चाहूंगा डॉक्टर ऐश्वर्या रानाडे मैडम को उनके कमेंट के लिए। मैडम प्लीज, ओवर टू यू। मैडम अनम्यूट कर लीजिए आपका माइक। मैडम प्लीज अनम्यूट। ओके।
सभी नमस्कार। ऋषिता मैडम मुझे टिळक आयुर्वेद महाविद्यालय में सीनियर रह चुकी है। बहुत सालों बाद उनको सुनने का मौका मिला, उनसे वर्चुअली क्यों ना हो लेकिन मिलने का मौका मिला। आज का जो मैडम का टॉपिक था एप्लीकेशन ऑफ पैप स्मीयर इन प्रिवेंशन ऑफ सर्वाइकल कैंसर, तो मैडम का जो प्रेजेंटेशन था मुझे लगता है कि एकदम आइडियल प्रेजेंटेशन था, क्योंकि उन्होंने बेसिक से लेकर एडवांस सभी चीज़ें पैप स्मीयर के लिए इस उनके प्रेजेंटेशन में उन्होंने दी है। वैसे तो उनकी जूनियर होने के हिसाब से मैं उनके प्रेजेंटेशन के ऊपर कुछ कमेंट करने के लिए मुझे नहीं लगता मेरा कुछ हक है, लेकिन फिर भी प्रोग्राम का प्रोटोकॉल समझते हुए मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मैडम ने पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन देने की कोशिश की है, और उनका जो प्रेजेंटेशन था वो इतना सटीक था, वीडियो से लेकर इंफॉर्मेशन, पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन उन्होंने इसमें दी है, और उनका खुद का एक्सपीरियंस और नॉलेज इस प्रेजेंटेशन से पूरा समझ में आता है। ऑफकोर्स सर्वाइकल कैंसर इंडिया में वर्ल्ड वाइड एशिया में 2 नंबर पे और वर्ल्ड वाइड में भी 2 नंबर पे ऐसा सर्वाइकल कैंसर का इंसिडेंस इंडिया में है। प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स तो पैप स्मीयर प्रिवेंटिव मेजर के लिए है ही, गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड सर्वाइकल कैंसर डिटेक्शन के लिए है ही, लेकिन अगर हम आयुर्वेद की दृष्टि से देखेंगे, मैडम ने उनके प्रेजेंटेशन में भी आयुर्वेदिक दृष्टिकोण रखा है उसमें, तो प्रिवेंशन इज ऑलवेज बेटर देन क्योर, और स्वस्थ से स्वास्थ्य रक्षणम अगर ये हमारा एम है, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो इन्फेक्शन सोर्स है HPV या फिर NCD अगर हम उसको समझेंगे, तो फिर अगर कैंसर को हम NCD के अंदर लेते हैं, तो जो लाइफस्टाइल डिसऑर्डर्स है या फिर डाइटरी हैबिट्स है, जैसे आयुर्वेद में दिनचर्या, ऋतुचर्या, ये सब चीज़ें बताई है। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगर यहाँ से ही हम अवेयरनेस शुरू करें तो बहुत सारी चीजें बंद हो सकती है या रुक सकती है, कम हो सकती है, लेकिन फिर भी अगर एक आध डिसीज का इंसिडेंस हमें समझ में आता है तो अर्ली डिटेक्शन इज ऑलवेज बेटर, लेकिन डिटेक्शन करने से पहले अगर उसका प्रिवेंशन हो जाए दैट इज ऑल्सो ऑलवेज बेटर। तो अभी इसका मेन सोर्स है, तो ये इन्फेक्शन वैसे तो बहुत ही कॉमनेस्ट इन्फेक्शन है, लेकिन अगर उसका इन्फेक्शन हम कम कैसे करें, इसके अगर इसका अवेयरनेस अर्ली एज में या स्कूल गोइंग चिल्ड्रन में, फीमेल्स में, मेल्स में और कॉलेज गोइंग स्टूडेंट्स में अगर उनको अर्ली एज में ही दिया जाए, तो इसमें से बहुत सारे इंसिडेंसेस कम हो सकते हैं, ऐसा मुझे लगता है। और मैडम का प्रेजेंटेशन बहुत ही अच्छा हुआ। मैं एकेडमी को मुझे इस लेक्चर के लिए चेयरमैनशिप देने की आज मौका मिला। मैं वार्ष्णेय सर का, गुरुद्वार सर का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहती हूँ, और अनुराग सर का दहेली से शुक्रिया। थैंक यू सो मच सर।
अनुराग जी, क्या हुआ? अनुराग जी का संपर्क टूट गया क्या?
अनुराग सर,
अच्छा,
आप
हाँ
म्यूट है।
मेरा
हाँ,
ओके, थैंक यू मैडम। आपने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से अपना वैल्यूएबल इनपुट दिया। जैसा कि मैडम ने बताया, हर्षिता मैडम ने बहुत अच्छे से वीडियो क्लिप्स और मटेरियल्स को एक जगह गैदर्ड करके इसमें लिया। इट्स नीड लॉट ऑफ टाइम, पेन एंड एंथुसियाज्म टू कलेक्ट एंड डिपिक्ट। तो मैडम आपको बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद। इसके साथ में हमारे साथ में कई और भी शिक्षक और गुरुजन उपलब्ध हैं। यद्यपि समय काफ़ी हो गया है, लेकिन फिर भी मैं निवेदन करूँगा कि 2 मिनट में अगर सभी लोग अगर कुछ कहना चाहते हैं, इसमें कुछ ऐड ऑन करना चाहते हैं, तो प्लीज़ अपना पक्ष रखें। प्लीज़ क्वेश्चन हमारे वक्ता से कोई ना करे, ऐसा मेरा आग्रह है। अगर कोई कुछ कहना चाहते हैं तो प्लीज़।
ऋषिता मैडम को बहुत-बहुत बधाई, और डॉक्टर अनुराग को और डॉक्टर ऐश्वर्या मैडम को, तीनों ने अच्छे से इस सत्र को संभाला है और बढ़िया से ये सत्र भले लंबी चली। हम लोग सोचे थे कि अब खत्म होगी, अब खत्म होगी। मगर ये टॉपिक ही ऐसा था कि मैडम ने ये टॉपिक ऐसा चूज किया था कि इसमें एक्सटेंसिव एरिया को कवर किए थे, तो उस कारण से मेरे का समझ में आता है कि ये लंबी चला। अदरवाइज इट वाज इंफॉर्मेटिव था, क्योंकि बीच-बीच में वीडियो भी चल रही थी, तो उस कारण से थोड़ा-सा लंबा चला है। तो ये बहुत ही इंफॉर्मेटिव लेक्चर है। हम चाहते हैं कि इसी तरह का लेक्चर सीरीज हम लोग का रोग निदान परिषद से चले और लोग इसका आनंद उठाते रहें। इसके साथ सबको बधाई वंस अगेन।
थैंक यू सर। कोई और हैं जो अपने वक्तव्य रखना चाहते हैं या कुछ ऐड ऑन करना चाहते हैं, तो मैं उनको इनवाइट करता हूँ।
संदीप दाहिलेकर सर को पूछ लीजिए।
संदीप सर प्रकट हो गए हैं। मैं संदीप सर से आग्रह करूंगा कि अपना होम मिनिस्ट्री, प्रेसिडेंशियल और जो भी रिमार्क होते हैं कृपया
सर घर पे खाना
सबमिट
खाना
करें।
है तो ज्यादा नहीं पूछ सकता मैं।
क्वेश्चन नहीं करेंगे सर, ऐड ऑन
क्वेश्चन नहीं करिएगा सर।
सर देखिए, ये जो टॉपिक था पैप स्मीयर, तो मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम होता ये है कि हमारे जो ये कॉम्बिनेशन है पैथोलॉजी का और गायनेकोलॉजी का, और सैंपल फॉर द रिजेक्शन, ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। चीजें तो बहुत सारी थी, पर उन्होंने A to Z रखने का प्रयास किया कम समय में। हालांकि उन्होंने 2-3 बार उसे स्क्रूटिनाइज करके, कट ऑफ करके, जितना शॉर्ट हो सके उतना करने का प्रयास किया। पर एक डिलीवरी करना और वीडियो के द्वारा डायरेक्टली उसका वर्कशॉप देना एक अलग बात होती है। तो उनके वीडियो की वजह से थोड़ा सा डिलेड हुआ, पर मेरे हिसाब से तो उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा प्रेजेंट किया और बहुत अच्छे से उसे बेसिकली समझाया, डाइस से रिलेटेड, सैंपल कलेक्शन से रिलेटेड, और डिस्प्लाजिया और वो कैंसर की तरफ किस तरह से बढ़ता है, और न्यूक्लियर साइटोप्लाज्मिक सेल का जो रेशो है वो कैंसर की तरफ एचपीवी इन्फेक्टेड सेल कैसी रखती है। ये बहुत सारी अच्छी बेसिक चीजें उन्होंने यहाँ पे बताई है। तो मैं समझता हूँ दिस इज द फ्रूटफुल फ्रॉम हर साइड। थैंक यू।
ओके, थैंक यू सर। और मैं आशा करता हूँ कि सर के द्वारा आज मैडम को एक ट्रीट दिया जाएगा हम सभी की तरफ से। और मैं अब इनवाइट करना चाहूंगा, कोई और हैं हमारे टीचर या कुछ इसमें इनपुट देना चाहते हैं अपना। इसके पहले कि हमारे अध्यक्ष और सचिव सर को मैं बुलाऊं, उसके पहले अगर कोई कुछ कहना चाहते हैं तो प्लीज।
अनुराग सर, मैं आपको कॉम्प्लीमेंट देना चाहूंगी। आपने बहुत ही बढ़िया टॉपिक्स चुने हैं और स्पीकर्स भी बहुत बढ़िया चुने हैं, और आपका कोऑर्डिनेशन बहुत ही बढ़िया है। उसके लिए आपको बहुत बहुत
मैडम थैंक यू। मैं आपसे ही सीखा हूँ। इसकी जब मुझे दायित्व दिया गया था तो मैंने आपके कोऑर्डिनेशन के टाइम के और बाकी जितने जय मैडम आप है और जितनी हमारी, हम पहले ही कहता हूँ, बार-बार इस चीज का उपयोग करता हूँ, हमारी जो मातृ शक्ति है, उन्होंने जो कोऑर्डिनेशन किया, मैंने सबके क्लिप्स देखे थे कि ऐसा ना हो कि मेरे से कोई गलती रह जाए, और मैं कोशिश करता हूँ। और ये मेरे ही सौभाग्य की बात है कि मेरे समय में जितने भी वक्ता मुझे मिले प्रोएक्टिव होकर के, वो सभी लोग मातृशक्ति ही थी, भारत की वंदनीय। आपको धन्यवाद इस बात को पॉइंट आउट करने के लिए। अब मैं
बहुत अच्छा है सर।
ठीक है, मैं प्रोग्राम को आगे ले जाते हुए हमारे आदरणीय अतुल वार्ष्णेय सर को इनवाइट करना चाहूंगा। सर कृपया हमें मार्गदर्शन करें।
धन्यवाद अनुराग जी। और मैं सबसे पहले तो बधाई देना चाहूंगा हर्षिता मैडम को। बहुत रेयर टॉपिक है और महिला के नाते उन्होंने अच्छा इस पे कार्य किया है, और रोग निदान की दृष्टि से कई पॉइंट्स उन्होंने नए ऐड किए हैं, तो के लिए मैं उनको बधाई देना चाहूंगा। ऐश्वर्या मैडम जी ने भी अच्छा उसको कंक्लूड किया, और वो हमारी जो रोग निदान की हम विशेषता के साथ लेके चल रहे हैं लेक्चर सीरीज के लिए, हमारी पूरी टीम लगातार उस पर काम कर रही है। जैसा कि चर्चा हमारे मंडप जी बार बार कर रहे हैं, मातृशक्ति, तो हमारे पितृशक्ति को बुरा ना लगे तो आखिरी लेक्चर हम पितृशक्ति से ही कराएंगे। उनका भी वजूद है।
सर उसमें कुछ क्लू है, उसको रहने दीजिए, उसको बरकरार, वो एक अच्छे तरीके से रिप्रेजेंट किया जाएगा सबके लिए आपकी बात को रखते हुए।
और आज के इस लेक्चर के लिए लगातार जो हमारे सहयोगी बने हुए हैं बड़े सर, उनका मैं विशेष धन्यवाद आभार करूंगा, क्योंकि वो पहले लेक्चर से अभी तक मैं अपनी सेवाएं लगातार दे रहे हैं। इस बिजी शेड्यूल में आप सभी का मैं आभार व्यक्त करते हुए अनुरोध करूंगा गणेश सर से कि समापन की कार्रवाई करें। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू सर, आप सभी को एक बार जुड़ने के लिए धन्यवाद। गणेश जी प्लीज एंड द मीटिंग।
यस सर।